This is the Green Room. I'm Caitlin Matson. Maestro Daniel Hege and composer Tim Hinck join me. Tim was commissioned to write a symphony for the Wichita Symphony Orchestra, and it will be premiered on the next Masterworks concert, which is next weekend. Hello to you both.
Hello.
We're just going to get started right off the bat talking about this world premiere. It accompanies several other wonderful works. We're highlighting the chorus as well on the symphony concert. But let's start out with this world premiere. My first question, Tim, is how did it come about that you were asked to compose?
Well, it kind of came out of the blue. I sometimes get commissions from people, and I see them coming, and we've been talking about it, and it's a kind of a buildup. But this was a phone call out of the blue from someone who was really interested in having a symphony written. And while they knew my work a little bit, it was kind of yeah, going out on a limb for both the commissioner and myself, a first for both of us, my first symphony, and the first time this commissioner had ever commissioned a major piece to be written. So it was very exciting for both of us.
Daniel, there is a relationship and a friendship between Tim and the Wichita Symphony. You as a conductor, Holly Mulcahy as concertmaster. Um, how wonderful to collaborate with somebody who, whose work is not only one you respect, but who you already have a nice relationship with.
Yes, actually, it was Holly that really brought us together. Holly was telling me, I trust Holly a lot. Holly and I are on the same wavelength about playing music of living composers, finding new voices out there, finding composers who write music that's relatable, even on a first hearing, to an audience. And she said, Tim Hinck is someone you would be interested in, I think, because Holly kind of knows which direction I'm going a lot of times when I program contemporary music. And sure enough, I heard some of Tim's stuff and I said, boy, this guy has got it. I mean, he knows how to write in such a way. It's great compositional technique, beautiful orchestration, and themes and all of the musical elements that I'm looking for, really. And then I listened to his fanfare for Rosa, which he had previously written, and we programmed it on an outdoor program, and then subsequently programmed it for our opening concert for last season. And it just went over so well with our audience. And with this commission that he had, we thought it would be great to have something for Wichita, for Kansas, for Kansans, that is written really for us in mind. And so there have been a lot of different meetings. Tim has been out several times over the past year. He's gotten to know a lot of people. He's gotten to know the landscapes. I can let you talk about that more, Tim, but he has just incorporated so much into this wonderful work. And I'm just so excited to get this rehearsed next week and performed.
The concert is Saturday, March the 9th at 7:30. Tim, your inspiration, you wrote a symphony for Kansas, for Wichita, for the state. Um, tell us a bit about your inspiration, and what you found during your time here that you drew from.
Yeah, well, this is something I really enjoy doing. I like to write music for people, not just for an occasion or to show my ideas. For me, music, especially classical music, is all about connecting people together. And that's what I think. I think I share that viewpoint. I can say confidently with both Daniel and the orchestra members. The connection between the players and the audience is very important. And so for me, this was sort of a normal way of going about it. I like to meet my audience beforehand. I like to meet the musicians who will play the music. And so it was kind of normal practice for me to want to go out and spend time there, get to know, what makes Kansas special, and particularly Wichita, what makes this part of Kansas so unique. Who are the audience, and what do they enjoy? And that was a really important part for me of how the music was going to come about and how it would be specifically tuned in to the audience and the musicians.
It's in 4 movements. And we're going to actually hear a bit of, I think it's the final movement.
That's right. Yeah.
The final movement is Morning. What did you think about when you were composing these last, this last 60 seconds of your symphony?
Yeah. Well, I didn't actually anticipate that it would have such a big ending at first. The piece is all about night. So it starts with the sunset, it goes through the night, it has its section about dreams, and finally we make it to the morning. And while I knew this would be an optimistic ending, it actually kind of, the ball started rolling and it got faster and it got more exciting and it got bigger and bigger. So I just kind of let it do what it wanted to do, and it has quite a big ending.
All right, we're going to listen to just a little bit of it, and then we'll be back to talk more with Maestro Daniel Hege and composer Tim Hinck. So I get chills, I get goosebumps listening to that, Tim. It's sweeping and almost cinematic, and I am suddenly the character in my own movie.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, it's the music is very visual, and I wrote, based on experiences of being in Kansas, and being out in the tall grass preserve, and seeing those amazing sunsets, just the expansive sky, and tried to work all of that. Ideas about flight, motion. So all of that is tried to work that into the music.
And Daniel, how do you approach studying? Oh, I mean, I was going to say, how do you approach studying a brand new work? But you approach it how you would any work.
I really do.
Yeah, but how astonishing to be thinking this is the first time anybody's going to be
Yeah.
hearing this.
Yes. It's always very exciting for me to think about, I use this term breathing life into the music. It's on the page, it's on the paper, and it's how can we take that and transfer that. And what I'm so thankful for is that Tim is going to be around. I mean, this is a rare opportunity that we get to have the composer here, listening in and saying, hey, maybe he has an idea during the rehearsal, or something like that. We can incorporate it, or I can ask him his ideas about it as we're going through it. And of course, I form my ideas just by looking at it. And, yeah, like you said, I do approach it like it's a brand new piece of music, whether it's a Beethoven symphony I haven't done before, or a brand new piece of music that's never been heard before. I just look at it very, very carefully, and I want to know the harmonic language. I want to see where the themes are, the phrases, that kind of thing. See what's really important. This piece has so much just palpable drama in it. And I don't mean just the loud, heroic, wonderful moments like that, but also the very quiet and internal moments. I think everything about this symphony is just so moving. And so people will find a huge range of emotions in it. And like Tim said, it's very visual in that way. And it's amazing how someone could take an idea that's fairly abstract and then make it into just tones. I mean, there's no text with this, so it's not an actual depiction of something as much as it is the feeling of something. And I think Timmy just knocked it out of the park with this one.
I have a
Thank you.
question for Tim about just the compositional process and the logistics as you get closer and closer to the premiere date. Did you give yourself a cutoff point? After this day, I cannot make any further revisions until after the concert.
Yes, and I try really hard, anymore to leave something alone. Once it gets close to concert time, and certainly once it's been performed, there are very few pieces that I go back and revise. But the process, which is so much bigger and more involved in something like a full-length symphony than, let's say, a shorter work for just a few players, the writing does need to be done quite early, because there's a whole lot of editing. There's a whole lot of back and forth with musicians that I like to do. I like to send the parts out and say, hey, are there any, what do you think about these parts? And is everything very playable? Is everything fun to play? Is anything very awkward? And so there's a point at which quite early I have to quit writing and start having those discussions and start turning over the music to the musicians who will play it.
This concert is March the 9th. That's Saturday. It starts at 7:30 in Century 2 Concert Hall. There will be a concert talk. I imagine Tim will be right there on stage as well. A wonderful opportunity to hear even more about these pieces. Uh, Daniel, this is a wonderful concert, not only because we have this world premiere composed
Mhm.
specifically for our symphony and our state and our town, but we also get to hear the Wichita Symphony Chorus do their thing on two different pieces.
That's right. So we start the concert with a short piece by Florence Price, who's the first African American woman to have any work, a major work played by a major orchestra. She had her first symphony played by the Chicago Symphony back in 1933, and that's very notable. There's been a lot of attention paid to Florence Price and her works, and we've already performed her first symphony. This is a short piece called Nimble Feet, which is kind of like a little rag. It's about 2 minutes long. Very wonderful little showcase for the orchestra. Then we get to the two choral works on the first half of the concert. The first one is Poulenc Gloria. It's about 24 minutes long. This is for a large orchestra, chorus, obviously, and a soprano. And then the second piece is by Dvorak, and it's his Te Deum, which he wrote actually while he was the director of the National Conservatory in New York City. Not many people may know that Dvorak actually lived in the United States for 3 years, 1892 to 1895. And it was for actually the 400th anniversary of Columbus, which we know can call Indigenous Peoples Day, too. So that Te Deum is a very festive kind of piece. So, and it's fairly short as well. So that's why we're able to do two choral works, because they're both on the shorter side. So two of them together comprise basically one. The works are wildly contrasting. You have Poulenc writing this in the 50s with a kind of French feeling to it, but a little more 20th century, ends very quietly. Dvorak is much more festive, especially the opening and final movements, but has that 19th century romanticism, almost kind of an earthy quality for having a fairly religious text to it. We praise thee, O God, is Te Deum, which would be the Latin translation for that. So these are two wonderful choral pieces that people will not have heard, I think, live very often. Maybe the Poulenc, but not the Te Deum probably. And it's a great piece. So people will discover a lot in this program of music that I think they'll love the very first time they hear it.
Oh, I love that idea. That's the common theme. We put together a concert of music you're going to love immediately.
Yes, I really think so. Everything has such appeal to it. And I'm just happy to have Tim's work on the second half as the real featured work people come back to. And I think they'll just be drawn in from the very opening.
It's so very exciting. And when next week when you're rehearsing and Tim's in town, um, Tim, are you really, I can't imagine the excitement that you will have hearing this for the first time during
It,
rehearsal.
yes, it's always very exciting to hear the music that's been in your head for so long come out and be played by such wonderful musicians. But there is something particularly special about the rehearsal process. Being a musician myself, it's just magic time, and it's a moment when everybody's making decisions very quickly, and the music can go from something that's very small to something that's larger than everybody in the room. And I think it's complete magic, and I can't wait to be there for that.
And I'm sure that you find, and Daniel and Tim both, every symphony orchestra is different. The personality of the symphony is different because you have entirely different, groups of human beings. And, you have a symphony, you have sections who have been playing together now for years, some of them decades. It's a close-knit group of people. Every section interprets things their own unique way. And you have in your mind and through, the technology you use, Tim, when you're composing, you have the opportunity to kind of, in whatever software you use to plug in your notes and get an idea of what it's going to sound like with a symphony orchestra. But then the color and the personality that the musicians are going to infuse into it, I mean, that's really great to think about.
Yeah, that's really where the music making happens, and I say this frequently, but I always write thinking about the musicians rather than thinking about the audience. It's not as if I don't appreciate and really value the fact that people might be in the audience to listen to this. But it's just I feel like it's not really my job to think too much about them. I always worry a lot about the musicians and how they'll enjoy playing the music and what, like you say, what they might do with these melodies that I've created. And that's what I'm really interested in. And then the musicians, it's their own then at that point. And then it's their job and their privilege to get to try to share that and communicate with the audience. And that's who they're thinking about. So I think it's just a wonderful chain of events that happens. And there's surprises at each turn, and it's going to happen on the 9th as well. I can't wait.
That's great. For tickets, go to wichitasymphony.org, or you can call the Symphony box office at 316-267-7658. This next Masterworks concert is Saturday, March the 9th. It starts at 7:30. Come an hour early to hear Tim and Daniel talk more about this incredible symphony, this world premiere, and these choral works we're going to hear. Thank you both so much for joining me. We are going to end the interview listening to a bit of, as you say, this earthy Dvorak. We're going to listen to the final movement of his Te Deum. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful concert next weekend.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.